I drive a semi-tractor trailer for a living. I'm a trucker going down the interstate, 18 wheels, uh, my freight liner. And therefore I work with many other truckers, and of course, old what's his name Trump just loves truckers. He has a stereotype of truckers as being Neanderthals that'll believe anything that they're told. And largely it is true that when I sit in the driver's waiting area, that the loudest and in my opinion most irrational drivers will be saying things like, "I'll tell you what, gotta watch out to get magnetized by they're forcing everyone to get immunized, and that's just whatever," and whatever. California, nobody lives there. I'll tell you what, it's just a horrible place. People are screaming to get out of California. I lived in California for several years, and it was a beautiful place there in San Bernardino. Sometimes it got very smoggy from the smog from Los Angeles, but it was an hour to go skiing or go up to Big Bear or go up to the mountains, and it was an hour to Disneyland or the beach. My wife and I really enjoyed living in California, and apparently millions and millions of people do. So anyway, but the as I say, a lot of people who are truck drivers are just, it's really stupid, because our shop is a union shop, and that's why we have the benefits that we do. But they'll support a party that has been trying to destroy unions, the Republican Party, who's been trying to destroy unions for years and years. Excuse me. For years and years, they've been trying to destroy unions and destroy our pension and restrict the ability of unions to get a foothold, for Teamsters to get a foothold into other trucking companies. But here's the point, and maybe this doesn't mean much, but maybe it means a lot. I know. On the one hand, they'll say, "Oh, these people that are trying to get us immunized, hanging's too good for them." I made that up. But I know that if I had trouble out in the yard, that they would all be out there with whatever it took to help me. In that, if I had a question, they would pipe right up and try to help with the answer as best they could. They are all individuals who will give you the shirt off their back, or at least give me the shirt off the back, and they know I don't agree. One time they were all talking about how, whatever, Nancy Pelosi was a lizard or something, and I piped up in the middle of a crowded driver waiting area, and I said, "Well, I guess all you need now is evidence." That went over really big. Goodness. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're all a bunch of positive hypocrites. We can say, "Man, those nasty whatever people," and yet continue to try and be of assistance and be of help with people that we actually come in contact with. Therefore, the ugly, nasty person who needs to be taken out and shot because they're horrible child molesters. All those Democrats, they're all child molesters. That is a boogeyman that's somewhere out there in the imagination. But the actual people that they know on the other side of the spectrum, they don't do that at all. So I guess that's a positive thing. The cut them down is toward an imaginary group, and the acts of goodwill that I know of, and there are glaring exceptions to this, but in my experience in dealing with people, the acts of goodwill are always concrete and working toward toward a specific real action within a person's life. One of the things that I don't think is talked about very much, but is, I think, a very big issue right now. My opinion is that since I was a child, several years ago, when I was a child, they had the nuclear fallout shelters. Those who are my age, or maybe a little younger, will remember the signs up on school buildings and courthouses saying, "Hey, this is the place to go in case of a nuclear attack. We have supplies in the basement." The nuclear weapons, in my opinion, are what have forestalled any further world wars. We had the First World War, and not very long after we had the Second World War, and we were due for a third World War. Goodness, 60 years ago, more than due. But the fact that we had weapons that could pretty much wipe nations out, the mutually assured destruction also assured that we would enter into a Cold War. Another name for a Cold War is peace. The conflicts that we've had have been comparatively localized, comparatively small, and the major powers, except by proxy, have not given their all in to attack another major power. There's a problem with this. One thing, they talk about the greatest generation of my father's generation, who fought in the Second World War and the Korean War. They, had no illusion about life living forever. Right now, I think largely individuals can live as if death were not a reality. As my sister said, ain't one of us getting out of this alive. And that's very, very true. We're all just fellow travelers to the grave, as Dickens said. But we can ignore that when we don't see our dearest beloved dying on a regular basis, and especially during a war. It's the people from 18 to 23 to 24 that are being killed, and these are individuals who are greatly missed. COVID is largely striking a large, in general, truth is generally true, striking a larger portion of more elderly people. The second thing that a major war does, where the draft is instituted, no one younger than I am has ever been forcibly drafted. My older brother, about 2 years older than I am, just missed the Vietnam draft by a matter of months. And of course I registered, but there was no mandatory draft. No one younger than I am has experienced mandatory military service in the United States. What a major war does is it forces a person. They may not know the geopolitical reasons and the real reasons why various nations went to war with one another, but it does cause them to think about issues and values that are more important than their own lives. That is something missing. This something larger to live for has, in my opinion, caused a very vanilla, very bland life. The big issues might be, goodness, how am I going to pay the car insurance? Where am I going to get a car? But largely, you can say COVID is the big cultural thing. No, it isn't. It is focusing on minority populations and elderly populations, the people who are being specifically more likely to be singled out for morbidity and mortality are people who have chosen not to be immunized. People who are immunized, frankly, like myself, we live pretty normal lives. If I go into the grocery store, I'll wear a mask, but the sign on the door says, hey, you don't have to if you're not immunized. So I just do it because I want to be considerate for the other people in the store, most of whom are also wearing masks. For me, in my opinion, all this preoccupation that we've had over the last 30, 40 years with zombies and vampires and goth and the living dead, there's a lot of people that are very, very video games off of that. There's a lot of people who are really, really into that, and I think it's because, and also, frankly, the Martian death rays from outer space from Zorosu is a democratic particle maker or something that started California fires. These people are more receptive to the excitement of the inner knowledge, the Gnostic being of the initiated, because they have this dry, in my opinion, this dry tinderbox of a life that is looking for a flame, unignited passions that would dearly love to have an outlet. And so that can be used by Democrats to try and work together for the public weal, the public good. Or it can be used by Republicans to set a match to that for the sake of building power and money without regard for the good of the nation.